Welcome everyone, and thank you for coming. Just to introduce myself before I start, what I do in TAW and outside of TAW. So my name is Nathaniel Amano, and I am the Generic Community Manager for Skiff and Tarkov and Higher Docs. Uh, and in TAW, I've been in Heroes and Generals, DayZ, the Division, and now in Skiff and Tarkov. I have been spin up there twice for those two games, which involves lots of recruitment. So I think I can cover a good amount of topics on that. And now, in Skip and Tarkov in Force Corps. So today we're going to be covering the topic regarding recruitment, specifically recruiting for TAW. And I hope that I can share some good information in regards to that. In regards to the how we're going to be doing it, it's going to be more of presentational rather than interaction because there are lots of topics to go through here. So we want to try to finish in time. So that's what we're going to be doing. So to start it off with some important things to note for tonight, I want to say that not all the points you've mentioned here will be applicable for you, but you can really relate to it. And it might seem very basic, but still it is going to be worth pointing out. The other thing is there will be plenty more ideas not mentioned here, and it's really up to you to share them with us after the presentation concludes. Like I said, for time purpose. The next thing is your experience might be different, and some things I mentioned here might be some things that didn't work for you, or not that much effective as I say they are, etc. So keep that in mind. A couple of ground rules for tonight are: let's keep the chat clean at all times and only for questions and suggestions only, and that's at the end of the presentation again. Uh, Keep questions and suggestions to the current discussion and wait till the end for the rest if it's really something that we really have to go through. So I'll try to check on those if needed. The other thing is pretty much what we discussed, but if you have a certain thing that you really want to ask, but it's not that important, you can just note it down and then we can go through it at the last. Okay, so recruitment is basically how hard you try and how much effort you give to it. And then through the process, you just get luckier and you get that recruit or members that you're looking for. So there's not much up to it, but of course we'll go through some details on how we can recruit better and how we can be more effective when we're trying to recruit. But like I said, the most important thing here is putting the effort in and actually trying again and again until you find the best method and get luckier at it. We're going to be covering several topics and we're going to be expanding on them, like I said. And some of these topics are why you should be recruiting, because obviously you need to understand why, uh, how and where you should be recruiting, when you should be recruiting, and what does and does not work in recruiting, and other related information in regards to recruitment and the things that we mentioned. The first point we'll look at is the importance and reason of recruiting. Because like I said, you definitely need to know why before you actually put time into it, because it does take time and energy, patience, etc. So why should you be recruiting? The first and very important thing is the life of the division, because while there are new recruits coming in, the team grows. Inactive gets replaced, while those those who are inactive gets discharged, and the team will have a new hype and increase of lifetime because it's always good to see people around, right? Um, you'll gain those valuable members and leaders because you never know who you are recruiting at the moment, because that person could be the future leader, and maybe not just only your unit, but TAW as a whole. So it's really important in that regards on who you're recruiting. In fact, that's all how you all got here. So it's very important in this topic as well. With numbers and activity increase, it when you're recruiting, there will be more people that will be active, right? Because there's more people that are going to be present within the team. So that way, let's say when the North American players log out, the Oceanic comes on, and then the Oceanic log out, the EU comes on, etc. Or even someone has another work schedule, etc. So when you have more people, you have more diverse time zones, work schedules, etc. So in that regard, the activity will increase. Plus, when you have more people, the amount of you seeing people playing in those channels are going to be higher, which increases, the interest and the gameplay between each other. But when you have less people, you'll not be able to have that kind of activity unless, for some reason, everyone is going to be playing every time. But don't get me wrong here, quality over quantity, of course, always. But why not have goals with good effort, right? With filtering out or even boot camps, rules, etc. The quality will come there. So just because you're recruiting a lot doesn't mean your quality will drop. It just means that you have to do more effort to ensure, the members you have there are the right members, and that will, get done in time while you're doing, your other leadership. The other point here, which is important, is you'll have wider possibilities for conducting events and even random activities, which you've not been able to do before. Because let's say, for instance, while I was in DayZ, at some point we had a very good amount of players where even at random time, we can just say, hey, what about recruitment event tonight? Let's do that. It feels like every day we can do what we would do in a mandatory, because due to the numbers, we had a lot of people playing, so we can do a huge range of activities together. So you'll have more possibilities opened up for events. The other thing is everyone loves seeing new faces around, obviously, and it brings something new to the table, which is, with every single recruit joining. Meaning, you might have this new recruit just joining, and he just got the game or something like that, and you are just getting bored of the game because you've done everything that you have to and you're waiting for an update or something. But because now you have this recruit, you're trying to teach him how, to play, etc. So in that simple regard, which we might, you know, not see, right? But still, it kind of gave the rest of the members more content to play on, which is getting that recruit trained up or helping him out, carrying him, whatever, right? Okay, so next thing is recruiting is mostly importantly, very fun once you start getting some result from it, because you can see the team growing, and you can see new members coming in. So you kind of will see it as an achievement as well. So it gets fun. So that's also something to note because that's why we're all here. So in slide number 8, we have a question here, which is where are we supposed to be recruiting? Where should be recruitment happen, or where should recruitment happen? In short, it's just everything and everywhere. So you should be recruiting everywhere possible because those little details will help. So what should we use for recruitment and where should we do that is the question here. And I have a bunch of pointers in the slide shown here, and I suggest to use as many, but if not all of them, that you can possibly be able to use for your division, because this can increase your reach throughout your gaming community. Or I mean, like, when I say gaming community, I mean by not TAW, but the game itself, its own community. You can reach more people through that. But keep in mind, we're going to be discussing one by one, so you don't have to read those. I just have every single point at one page, and we're going to start with recruitment posts. Recruitment post is your main source of recruitment. As such, your most attention should be given to it, even to the smallest details. I keep saying that because it will increase your chance of getting that recruit, and you'll see why. So to start off, you can make this post in various sites in your game, because there are many locations that your game could offer, like the main websites, forums, fan pages, etc. So this recruitment post is not limited to Steam or the forum or anything like that, but everywhere that you can possibly bring it into, including social media, which we'll discuss later on. So to focus on general recruitment posts and go through the points, the first thing that you're going to be starting with is the title. And that is a matter that most people miss because it's something that people go over. Oh wait, sorry about that. I missed the rules. My apologies. So the first thing obviously is the rules, right? You have to fully understand them before you go ahead and actually make the post, because you have to follow those, and always make sure if there are any clan specific rules, because sometimes people miss those and they get in trouble. And believe it or not, I have recently seen that happen in TAW as well. And the least you want is your recruiter or yourself or your main guys that are on the forum getting banned because of it, or your post getting taken down. So just be careful on that. Read the post. Read the rules. When you start typing out your recruitment post, first thing is the title. Your recruitment starts from the title because there are going to be tons of other clans. So you want to ensure yours will be clicked on and read. If you have just a name there, like the Art of Warfare or TAW or any other community name, there will be the same thing like that, all listed down. So the chance of yours getting clicked is just a matter of luck, or uh, that person just found your name more better, or that's what he's looking at. So you need to try to stand out from the others, which is the most important thing. And you can do this by using simple words such as, even if it doesn't do much, you could just add looking for NAEU OC players, or looking for, and then a word from your game. Like for instance, for the division, we used agents. For games like Daisy, you could do survivors, or looking for something like that, because it kind of stands out from the others, and it will increase the chance of it getting clicked. In other words, it's a bit more alluring. So you need to try. You need to try to do that. You can also try to specify something like, I don't know, what does your game need? What does people look for mostly? So you can use that kind of thing. So brainstorm on that. The next thing, since now you got the title and considering that person have clicked on it, is the content. When you go into the content, which is more important than the title to be more descriptive and informative for that person to join. It really depends on your game here, but one thing is for sure, that you want to stand out again, just like the title. So you cannot have the same thing that every other community or clan has, because there's nothing or no reason for that person to select or join yours rather than the others. It's kind of competition here. So yours needs to be more organized, written properly, bolded, underlined, contain some pictures and even a video if possible. To give you an example of this, in Skiff and Tarkov Division, we even have a system where our recruitment post is a short form of our, idea of what we want to say. And then we have a PDF file linked in there that gives more in-depth description with pictures, even our medal system, etc. We got in-depths on there with like 7 pages or something. Maybe some people won't read it, but there are some people who wants to know more about what they're joining, because they're serious about it. They want to join and stay. So when you have those kind of people and you have that kind of attractive thing, even if they just click on it and see, oh wow, that's very organized, it's going to be a bit more interesting. While we're on that, something I want to say is make the whole post be something that you would join. Meaning, in other words, uh, what would you want to see from a clan or from a community that you're trying to join? If you know that answer, then have that in your post, because after all, they are all players just like you, and now they're looking for others to play with, just like you looked and found. So if it was you and you wanted to join a community or clan, and you're scrolling down through others, what do you want to see? So just have that in there. And sometimes it's also good to mention what kind of players you're looking for. For instance, it could be casual players, competitive players, bows, by saying, we have a place for bows, we have this kind of structure for bows, etc. We have something similar in AFT as well. Um, or are you looking for NA and EU, including OC, or other things, depending on your game? So mention those people. The player will read it. The player that's reading it will read that and say, hey, that sounds exactly what I'm looking for. But even when you're mentioning, though, try not to make it too niche unless you're actually looking for such very specific players only. But for now, we're talking about recruitment. So your post will need to have the ability to bring not those only specific, but many who are able to go with our standards in TAW. Okay, so this topic, some of you might not agree with it, but still, I really want to mention it because I have seen it, in a way where it's more effective rather than the other. So just to mention it, I want to say, do not scare off people because some things will just sound very exaggerated, or it will make people say, no, I'm not gonna want to join a militaristic place, or I don't want to call someone sir or something. Because I do get that a lot, and some people even email me and ask me, hey, do I have to call you sir if I'm going to be joining TAW? Because that's what some communities does. So you're going to need to try not to have such things in there, or matters that will be read in another tone because it's a writing and it can be read as anything. And also, you don't have to go in depth about things or recruitment posts. That is what bootcamps are for, right? The rules, the mentories, etc. They're all in the bootcamp. Plus, before members are joining, they will read it and they will accept. And obviously, they have to follow those rules to uh, join and stay. Go from the recruit stage to PFC, etc. So do not be worried about including those in there and kind of having the mindset of saying, I'm trying to find the right people, which you're going to miss the right people by trying to do that because you're scaring off the right people. Because of the way that you presented it, it's going to sound a bit too much than it is, because it's really not too much that we're asking in talk, for most people at least. So say what you want to say without scaring anyone off, even due to the size of TAW. When in truth, is that it's not like, since we have 2,500 plus members, it does mean that there's always 100 players playing in one channel or something like that. And people, when they read it and you say, hey, we have 2,500 members, they're going to be like, oh, I'm not looking for such thing. I'm just looking for players to play with, some group of players to play with. That's exactly what we have here. It's just that we have more members and it's international. So you want to try maybe to mention things like our squad system to counter that by saying, even though we have this much members, we have this squad system where we play in squads, or we have this kind of system in place so that we are organized, etc. So you don't want to leave that saying we don't have 2,500 players, because that's something that we all should be proud about. But also keep in mind to mention such things because it really scares off lots of people. The reasons I mentioned this, even though, like I said, some might disagree, is because people are looking for reasons to jump to the next one while uh, reading yours. So you don't want to give them any kind of reason, but to stay and keep reading and probably even deciding to join. So try to do that. But you have the post now, right? But the real deal starts later after that, which is uh, you must do everything you can to always keep that post on the top. Even though you have, let's say, a very good, post structure, post, everything like that, it really doesn't matter if the post is bumped a month ago or even a week ago. In my opinion, a post needs to be bumped at least once in 24 hours, but even more frequent than that. It doesn't have to be only you, which again I will go on to later. But yeah, keep that in mind that your post should always be on the top, and that's your biggest advantage there. But do not use words such as bump because this makes you look really desperate, which we're not, and it's also very annoying to many forum users, because you're basically spamming everywhere, saying bump, bump, bump. I did it before, and even when I look back at it, it's kind of ugly when you start, getting into forums much more. So, don't do that. That's a big turn off. You can use techniques like getting members to make reviews about the community, rather than bumping in another, like bump words or other words like come join us, we're looking for more, etc. Even those, everything like that, just leave it completely. Only have things that are informative, like what I just mentioned right now, which is asking the community, in your team, that is in your division, that they just go there and make a review about what they found in TAW and what they like. You don't even have to be worried if they put in their bad thing, because there will always be bad thing there. You can't avoid that. Even though you can decrease it, you can't avoid that. So just let them review there, put a review there, which mostly is positive if you ask them, right? And this not only bumps it up, but also gives more info about the community. So more people will see that and read. Plus, uh, on top of that, you can make kind of discussion there within the thread, but without going too much off topic on it. You can discuss things like how the last entry went, how you guys did on the game yesterday night, etc. Just be creative at it and try not to fill it up with posts with only you posting there, because that's also something that's considered just like the bumping, right? So try to have more people partaking in that. And many players will read the main post roughly, but focus more on the comments because they want to know what players think. By the players' perspective, they'll trust more. So, uh, you know, have those there. The reviews and the things that I mentioned. And we even had like comments such as and you're gonna have comments like that because that's what usually people say, and they say, hey, people seem to dig you guys, so I'll try it out, etc. And they join, and that's exactly what you want to create on them. Okay, and finally, I want to really highlight how much recruitment posting is important, and it can be very effective way of recruiting. To show you an example of Script from Tarkov recruitment post view and reply status count, I'll link you a screenshot I took. The link is going to be found in the document, but also in TeamSpeak chat. It's just an example of how much you can take it and how much effective it can be. Uh, as you can see there, there's 21,000 views and 831 replies on ours, when the other communities literally have way less. And the second biggest one is the one with the 5,000 one, which is way far from each other. So I'm just here trying to show you an example of what we actually have right now, and how much we took it seriously when it comes to our recruitment post, because that's where our main source of recruitment is, and probably for you too, and for many divisions. So keep that in mind and take that as an example. And keep in mind, the only thing done on this post is exactly the points mentioned above, and maybe even less, and nothing else. But most importantly, we're super active on it, and we ensure that we try to keep the post on top at all times, especially at peak hours of the forum, like where your mandatory times are normally. Those are the peak hours of the players. So those hours are the ones that you really want to be on the top, because that's where lots of people surf the internet or the forum most of the time. Okay, so this is probably my favorite area because I kind of enjoy it more, but it's not because it's as effective as the recruitment post, but just because personal preference. But Steam, and it's regardless of your game being on Steam or not, there will always be players there, one way or the other. The first point, though, on when we're talking about Steam is again the forum, because like I said, recruitment post is your best place. So don't forget to have your post on the Steam forums, meaning your game specific Steam forum, considering that your game is on Steam. If not, then this one will not apply for you. Uh, you can also, obviously use the same style as the others. You can just have the same post there because it doesn't really matter. You're not spamming or anything. It's just a general post. That's what you want to say across. So this next one doesn't matter if your game is on Steam or not, but on Steam groups. So what you will do here, or what I like doing, is search for Steam groups for your game and join them. And you're gonna try to find players to play with from there and offer them to come on TeamSpeak and even possibly join TAW, because if they enjoyed having a good time with you here, uh, that's what they're looking for, and they might just consider staying here. And I'm gonna tell you, most of the time when you get someone on TeamSpeak, the first impression they will have, wherever they are, is how big our TeamSpeak is and how organized it is, and how our clans, tags and everything. Not many communities do that, so as soon as they see that, that's also one plus. So you want to have that kind of impression set on them. Act normal, get them here, and then let the other factors do the job of recruiting. Um, but here's a very important note, which is the catch, right? Before doing this, make sure you're not looking at a clan Steam group. Obviously, you don't want to disrupt other clans, or you're not, going into other clan Steam groups and doing such things, because that's not what you're looking for. Okay, so and also the other thing to note, not just about the clan Steam group, but also some groups will not allow you to do any kind of form of recruitment, which consider kind of advertisement, right? So to speak, yeah. So make sure that's not a problem. You can do that by contacting one of the moderators, administrators, or check what they have there, the structure, etc. Usually they might have mentioned. So be careful on that. You don't want to look bad or make anything harm, make anything that would harm their Steam group. The next thing is something that that happened to me at some point, especially with while I was in Heroes and Generals and DayZ, which was Steam friends, right? Uh, so you play different kind of games, most of us do, and you might have friends from previous games that you've been playing with. Then you're not going to be unfriending them after you stop playing that game for a while or something like that. They're going to still be there, and believe it or not, there will always be, if you, depending on how much friends you have there will always be more uh, players that will play the game that you're currently playing, and they could just be in your Steam friends list. So you'll see when they play and stuff like that. So you could just contact them, say, hey man, I'm in this community. What do you think, etc. So that's also one way to recruit that you might have passed by. Next point, which is Steam clan tags. You can include your Steam name. In your Steam name, you can include tag on your name, and players will either ask what TAW is, depending on if they have communication with you, or they will look it up. And this could be because they saw you in game, or they saw you around on the forums, etc. So having that tag there is one way to recruit without actually trying to recruit. And in addition to this, and the most important one and the most effective one on this specific point is other members in your division will just follow that by seeing you doing it, which eventually will become a thing for your whole division. Then it will increase your reach because that's what you actually want to happen. And you can see you can see this as sharing a video on YouTube, or sharing a post on Facebook. Then everyone else will see it. So it's just basically like that. When you're doing it, others are also sharing the exact thing that you're doing, and then from there, it becomes a thing. And if you have a lot of members, all those members are basically running around with TAW on their name and lots of players on Steam. They're gonna get all those people there. So. Very important. I see lots of TAW members do it, and it's really a decent thing to do. In addition to what was mentioned, you can join small groups of players and get them all to join TAW. Uh, I have experience in this in the division, and also in EFT. I think he's here already, Tom. But yeah. But I don't mean in a malicious way. Okay, it's more of in a way that you are offering them all more structure, more players to play with. In other words, you're offering them TAW. But you can accomplish this by having a talk with the leader, or by going ahead and communicating with all of them. Depending on what their size is. But make sure that this is done through your leadership, and preferably by your TFO members, because they can have more of this discussion than you do. So like than regular members or battalion staff. So I would recommend that your TFO is present in regards to this. And of course, do not promise any kind of positions or ranks, because you are merely just recruiting them to join you in TAW and have a good time together. It's not a clan merge in any way, because that will complicate things in a way that TAW doesn't work that way or function that way in its leadership and structure. So you're basically mass recruiting, so to speak, but you're just getting the whole team to join you. I don't want to call it merge, because it's technically not merge. You can find such groups on the one that I mentioned earlier is individual, but now I mean by the whole Steam group. It could be 10 members playing together, but they're not as active, and they're not having the most out of it. So they're kind of wavering about the situation. So when you offer that, it could be exactly something what they needed. So you can try, convince and make that happen. The other groups that you can have is Facebook groups, and sometimes there are even official website groups where they offer list of clans and stuff like that, so you can go through those. We had that kind of thing for the division by Ubisoft, so all right, so check that kind of things. There are also official sites and fan-created sites dedicated to looking for group, commonly known as LFG, or looking for more LFM structure. You can contact people that post there saying, "Hey, I'm looking for this kind of group." So if you don't know what these are, this is basically a website where, for instance, right now, let's say I don't have any kind of team to play with or anything like that. So I go in there and I post, I'm level something, looking for teams. I want to play this, and then exactly when you put that in, there are also groups or like one-man team or two-man team looking for more. So they're gonna message you fast there. Click a button, message you and say, "Hey, we're looking for more." And then from there, depending if it's on Steam or Uplay or something like that, it directly connects to you there, and you can get them on TeamSpeak, or you go on their TeamSpeak, you can play. So you can use this system to contact people who post and get them on TeamSpeak instantly from there, which is instant recruitment. They might not join TAW, they might just looking for that instance, but you never know. Like I said above, you just got to get them here and let the course take part from there. So I want to point out this was our main source of recruitment while we were in the division spin-up, and we were very productive with it when other things were not as effective for us due to the competition there was there, because we were like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months late when we started recruiting for that team. So every clan was established and we didn't have much members, etc. So the only way to do it was instant recruitment, and this was what really got us on our feet at the time. So this is where you gotta look it up and see if it's something that's offered for your game. Not many games have it. If you can't find it, that's probably the case. In-game recruitment. Okay. So something I want to say here is that I've seen many divisions that focus merely on in-game recruitment as their main source of recruiting. If you ask me, it is very fun to do because you're kind of playing the game and trying to recruit and stuff like that. I think that's the most fun you can have out of recruitment. But this is very less effective than, I can't say, I don't want to exaggerate it, but I can say, less effective than any other recruitment you can have, but still a very, uh, option to recruit. So you still have to, keep it in mind. So the advice here is not to use it as your own source of recruitment, but as an addition to your other sources. Because like I said before, you want to use everything as you can to be effective at the recruitment process. While recruiting in-game, sorry about that. While recruiting in-game, the methods you can use are in-game chats. It could be lobbies, VoIP, which is kind of awkward to do, but if you don't feel bad about it or weird, you can do it. Match chat. By that I mean, there are the lobbies, public lobbies before you go in game, and it could be after you go in game there are there. So those you can use. You can look out for players there as well. Not only just posting there, but you can look out for players, looking for groups. They might ask or they might give you a hint there. That's how actually I got recruited, where I was kind of lost and saying, "Hey guys, can someone help me?" etc. TAW member contacted me saying, "Hey, we got a group, you want to join?" etc. So that's effective. Uh, Others, someone could be, looking for others to play with. So that's also a thing. And it could be that that person is not having a good time because he's playing solo. He might be complaining about dying every time or something like that. So you might have a solution there. And contact those. There's a high chance you might close the deal. So on top of this, sometimes you can mention that TAW is looking for players. If anyone is interested, if any of them seem interested. But while you mention such things on public chats, just make sure you brace yourself for the hate response from others, which you'll mostly get. So don't feel bad about that. That's just how it is. Most places at least. But always ignore them because that's what we do. Ignore any kind of hate and not respond back, but also make sure that on your part you're not spamming or you're not doing anything wrong. So be confident on your part on that side, and then do your thing. Ignore the hate. So yeah, one thing to point out here though, just like the bump of posts, don't keep doing it every single minute or not even more than once or twice in game, because you're gonna seem very needy and a spammer. Probably others been doing it and they might have encountered it. So the last thing you want is having a bad name there for your whole division or for the whole community. So be careful on that. In addition to this, there are the private messages. In addition to public chat. Like I said, how I got recruited is through private message when I was kind of struggling, contacted. So you can do that, but just don't go ahead and spam every single person again. Also, in addition to Steam, if your game is not on Steam, obviously if it's on Steam, it connects to your Steam name. If it doesn't, use clan tags in game as well. We have discussed it before, and it really helps. So yeah, do that. All right. So here's a discussion about the social media, such as Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Reddit, etc. These are also where gamers will sometimes look for groups because they could be an active user of that media. Lots of people use social media. So, uh, some people, in fact, many people don't use forums because of not being maybe something uh, for them, because some people actually even avoid forums, but they could be on social media. So that's an enough reason for you to be present there. So at least have a page or whatever that site offers to ensure that you show up when someone Googles a group or search on the media for groups. Because that's the reason I say that is because not many communities do it. So you'll most likely be on the top of the search. So just have some good keywords on your post there so that it will show up by the search. And if possible, even keep it updated. It's kind of hard to keep every single social media of yours updated and stuff like that. It's going to become another task. But you can try to do it at least from once in a while. And even if you do not do that, at least, like I said, have something there for the search engine to find you, for the recruit to find you. And trust me, it really works. I sometimes try to search our recruitment post by just saying, you know, recruiting or I mean class or groups, that kind of keywords, and try to find EFT class, and usually we do show up. I even seen the in Google pictures when you search EFTs, some of our recruitment post pictures show up there. So that's how much it can go in there within the search, and randomly someone can find you, even if it's one or two people. So it took you a few minutes to get that person, and it's a one-time thing to do. Streaming, okay. So although it is very difficult to get the views, meaning your recruits out of it, let alone recruiting out of it, just getting those viewers is pretty hard. If you have seen streams and everything, lots of streams are very well populated, so it's going to be a bit hard. But if it will still be a bit effective if you work on it and make it frequent. Plus, you are just having a good time while you're playing with each other or talking with the streamer, the viewers while you're streaming, which could potentially be your recruits. So it's something to consider and do. It's one way to recruit, so you have to be there. In fact, it's very nice to it gets your community out there visually, not just text-wise or record the video, but it kind of gives the direct feel of what your team is or what it stands for. So don't oversee this, or like bypass it if I said it correctly. And with streaming, it all depends on the streamer, the game, how much active streamers there are at the time or general. But whatever the case, even if it's 2 members per month, streaming is one way to recruit. So utilize it. Few things you can do to increase your recruitment with streaming are have active streamers who can show off good gameplay as well as have some kind of streaming skills rather than them being very good at the game, but everything else is bad. So try to have the skill on that side. In regards to this, you should try to work with TAW Streaming Operations Division to set up streams and share experiences with them, because they will really be helpful on that on that part, including the even the moderation part. So don't worry about that. So the next thing is have a good overlay that shows and promotes TAW. Maybe it could be an emblem or it could be the whole overlay. Have that there so that it can shout TAW throughout the whole stream. But to make it cover the gameplay, of course. Do not have it on each minute, but mention that TAW is looking for more players. That way you can get some of those viewers to check out TAW and possibly join. But don't do it like on the start of the stream or only at the end. Don't do that. Just try to do it maybe at the middle when you had a very decent firefight, or depending on the game, right? When you have that good moment going on, while everyone is like giving attention and you're like, oh wow, that was a good fight or something like that, you can drop the TAW bomb on them, and that way they're gonna go ahead and check it out. So now we're gonna talk a little about recruitment drives and how I personally feel about it and how I believe should be from my past experiences with it. The first thing I want to talk about is how recruitment drives should be taken out, since I think some missed the point of holding them, and due to that, not running a successful one because of the things that I'll mention. But your main point of having it is to be successful at it and get some recruits out of it. You just don't want to hold it for the sake of holding it, and because you're just looking for more players because of the things that we'll talk about on the next few points, which are you can use recruitment drives to give the initial motivation. I mean by that, you just dropped out from recruitment, but you have set up everything else you need. Everything is solid. Now you want to have that initial motivation for that to happen. Then you can use it as an initiation. But I'll go to the bed actually. Let's just stick with this. Uh, to boost an already going effective recruitment. Let's say you already have a very good recruitment going on, but you feel like it's not 100% effective at the moment. So you want to increase that, and even more than that, right? If we're talking numbers. So, go ahead, hold that drive. And when you have members who already have been recruiting, but now they are dropping off a little, and when you have this recruitment drive, it will be a candy, for them to jump on and get back to the awesome recruitment they have been doing. And this one depends on what kind of recruitment you're holding, which we'll talk about later. But uh, have recruitment drives where when your regular members have possible ways to partake, because for instance in Skiff and Tarkov, with this current state of the game, our members can't directly participate in such events due to the options available for recruitment being limited. So you need to see if your current situation or things within your game or your community in general, you're able to hold recruitment drive, because it won't be effective, then you don't need it. It's just waste of your time, others, and the reward prizes that you prepared. And it should be treated as an all-out campaign rather than the only reason to recruit, because it's not. In fact, this is where the most wrong thing comes, where you're just using it as your primary time to recruit, but rather it should be initiation or all-out campaign saying, "Hey guys, we're doing a massive recruitment. We're stepping it up a ton. So, you know, make that recruiting happen. Then use it. Have that kind of mindset to it." So the next thing is, instead, the things that you shouldn't be having it, or in what instances that you shouldn't be having it, in regards to recruitment drives. These are the cases or instances where no one is ever recruiting, so you want to hold a recruitment drive because of that. In my opinion, this is a very wrong thing to do, since no one will fall from the sky to recruit. It will not happen just because you have a recruitment drive, unless you're very lucky, which luck here will not help you. So the solution here is not to do recruitment drive, but to solve other areas, then come back to this to initiate things. Or else your recruitment will only happen when there are recruitment drives, and this should not be the case again. Plus, it's just going to be your staff doing it, which they should have been doing it the first place. So don't do it just for the sake of this. Also keep in mind that it is the staff members that needs to be the initial recruiters, and then the rest will follow. Without that, the regular members are not going to jump down to recruiting, or unless you have that, you're lucky and you have that member who is very motivated on that part. And most importantly, the TFOs need to show some effort in this manner, make it something that will pass down. And I really want to highlight this part, because it really really matters that the TFO members are actually the ones that are actually recruiting there, not just motivating others to recruit, but actually being the example of recruiting. Then it will become a habit, because people do follow you, and they'll take it up from there. You might not be even needed after that. The recruitment will continue. You might even find great recruiters out of it. Some people are really passionate about it. So next thing is how to set it up. That's the next bullet point we have, or the main topic in regards to recruitment drives. So let's discuss on what to keep in mind when setting it up. The first thing is you need to ensure you have the right prizes and rewards, right? It really doesn't matter if it's an expensive one or a cheap one or anything like that. Obviously, you don't want to make it too cheap or something that people don't want to have, but whatever it is, it's a reward, it's a competition, and people will jump to it. You don't have to have crazy amount of things. I've seen that happen before, and I don't get it. You don't have to have that much thing. It's not the prizes that would make people to partake, and that's not the mindset you want to create. You want to create the mindset of the healthy competition and that drive, not uh, the reward only. So don't focus on this. Just have a decent reward. It doesn't have to be too much. Just get that set up. Have it ready for disposal. Don't do it at the last time of the event. And obviously set up the rules and specify the winning terms, and think of ways you can make it more effective. like saying you need to recruit at least 3 people first, then you're eligible for this recruitment post, depending on how effective you think the recruitment will be. If you think that there will be some competition there, you can up it to 5 members. You have to get like 5 members in first, then uh, you're kind of signed on to the competition. Anyone below 5, they just recruited, but they're not going to be counted, or something like that. It doesn't have to be exactly what I said, but I'm just giving you an example. And obviously, you want to enforce that it's not just recruiting, but those members have to become PFC. In addition to this, let's say you give it a 2 month drive, right? The event could be 1 or 2 months, and then give like 15 to 1 month for the members or the recruits that were just recruited at the last minute to reach PFC, because it's not going to be fair if someone really did a very good drive at the last. So you want to have that grace period, not grace period, but a period where the new recruits can join, can become PFC. Make announcements about it and remind everyone in regards to the drive whenever possible. That's, I think, a very obvious thing. You need to ensure people know about it for more people to partake. Even, one post or 2 is not enough. You just have to announce it on your entries or random times, etc. In addition to all, you should specify who can partake. This could be division wide, all your division members, TAW wide, everyone in TAW welcome to partake, include officers of the division or not, staff only, etc. So you can do it many things. So check what's going to be more effective for you, and make it seem to have a healthy competition, and kind of not in a teamwork way, but without the teamwork. But when both are, let's say there are 2 people, they're both to beat each other because they got one recruit above the other, and they're going to keep going on, and then due to their competition, the team will grow, because that's what the prizes are about. Like I said, it's about the competition and it's about winning while growing the division. Okay, I think that's enough regarding recruitment drives. I hope you got some idea out of it and why I believe some kind of misunderstanding there is there for this drives, and how I personally believe it should be. So you have tried everything here. Not many are effective enough for you, right? They're not enough for you. They're not effective for you. Then you should always improvise to make that recruitment effective. It could be what we already discussed here, or even better, or even find a completely new way to recruit, which you will. Because, for instance, I keep giving example of Skip and Track Up. That's because I'm currently in it, and I can talk more about where I am than anywhere else. And when I talk about examples that we currently do, you'll have an idea that will just pop on your head, saying, "Hey, I can actually do this in here," or some other idea will show up for you. So that's why I keep saying that. Don't take it in the wrong way. We use basically we use what is it called, spreadsheet to recruit people on the forum. It basically involves a spreadsheet and our recruitment posts and private messages, which is very simple way we did it, but it's probably our main source of recruitment alongside with the recruitment post thread. If I would go in detail about this, it's basically where what happened is, the community in EFT, it's kind of getting better right now, but it was a bit small at first. Then, it's growing, and it's a Russian developer company, so most, players are Russians, etc. Even though right now, it's balanced or even more English. So it was kind of hard to find those players. So what we did was we kind of go through the forum, seeing who we could recruit, etc. And we contact them through private message, saying, "Hey, I would like to invite you to talk, etc. Check out our post here if you're interested. Sorry to bother you if not, etc. Without being too spammy." And then we drop that name to a spreadsheet saying that person is contacted. So if I want to go and check that, send the message to that person, I have to go and check the spreadsheet, checking if that person is already contacted, or else it's going to be 10 people that contacted. Obviously, there has been cases like that because someone, or at some point you might mess up on doing that. but it will really decrease the amount of it, and it really did work for us, and probably the only reason we are effective at it, because it's kind of hard to recruit for our division at this moment. So if you're in that kind of circumstance in your team, you can find this kind of ways that you can take another kind of way to get people, that limited amount of people found on there to your post or to TAW or whatnot. Okay, so in addition to this, if you find a new way to recruit for your game, not many other communities or clans will be doing that, because it's something that you found. So it will be a place for your own without any competition, which means uncharted resource for you. So try to find that. Again, brainstorm on that. Find it. It might not just pop like that, but while you're just trying to make an effort to recruit, the idea will just come out of there, because you'll find a solution for your problems. The next question we're going to be trying to answer in the next thread will be when do you need to recruit? If your goal is high in numbers or activity, then recruitment should be a day-to-day process by you and others together. You can even specify tasks and days for each other. It could be, hey, at this day you need to focus on sending those messages or etc. So find that way to work together if you really need it. If not, then everyone partake together day to day. I know it kind of sounds a lot, but going on a post and replying there to other discussion is a simple thing as saying you just made an effort to recruit. And trust me, just doing that will help you a lot. You don't have to go through everything that I mentioned, saying social media or streaming. You don't have to do all that. Just at least go ahead and bump your thread, and after that you'll see the difference yourself, and then you're gonna be doing it every day. Obviously, you're not gonna see it in one day, but when your post is there every single time, people will notice. If they're on the forum, they'll notice, because it's always on the top. So make sure you have that like that. Okay, next point is, let me ask you a question. We answered a question here, by saying every day and with team effort, etc. To ask you a question now, right? Uh, have you not been getting any recruits for a while now in your division? And if the answer to this is a yes, well then, do not be surprised at all if you are one of the following people, or if you're one of the following division in general, which is when you go back to your posts and your posts have not been bumped for ages, it could be different things, but for me it's a day, like I said. But sometimes people might get busy or hype might drop, so it might not happen. But if it's like a week ago or a month ago, well, no question there. Uh, so time to get work on that and change that, because that's completely a mistake if you're looking to grow or recruit at all, or else you're never going to recruit. uh, you have been waiting for someone else to appear just like that, or uh, someone to recruit his friend, meaning you have not done anything to change it. So then recruitment is not going to happen again. uh, Another point is, you have been waiting for that active recruiter to recruit more. Let's say you have that very active recruiter there, and he's been recruiting a lot, so you're fully dependent on him. Now you're just waiting for him to pick it up because he just dropped off. Then he just might be burnt out because he was just a one man army, right? So far, that is. So that's where you got to work on. It's not interesting when he's doing it alone and it's not effective. So you got to go in there, you got to help him, and when you do, others will follow. You tried to recruit, but it did not work, so you gave up. But I want to say here, uh, please remember our first quote when we started this TAW Uni. We said, you just have to, basically we said, you keep trying and you get lucky, right? In short, that is, which the quote says, the harder you work, the luckier you get, right? So, even if it was not working for you, when you keep trying it, like I said, it's not a one-day process. It will happen eventually. But again, do it the right way, if you're going to be doing it. So maybe some of these points here will help. You have been blaming that your game is currently in a bad shape. This is another point. And in this topic, I have been there, and even currently, there are instances that I think about that, saying, hey, we're not getting no recruits. That's basically because of what the game is currently and where the current stage is. It's hype kind of dropped, so maybe that's because of it. But it should not be an excuse if your goal is to grow, right? So no excuses, just keep trying and let whatever circumstances happen or not happen. And giving yourself various excuses on why your division is not seeing recruits, that's also something in addition to the point I mentioned just now. And it's time to drop those and get to work on the recruitment. The other point and the last one is you have not found other ways to improve recruitment. Instead, you have been waiting for something to happen. You've been trying to recruit, but nothing is happening. But now you're just doing the same thing over and over again, and you're just waiting for something, which will never come. So try to improvise and try to find something, just like we discussed previously, or previous topics before. Don't worry, guys, we're almost done. I'm trying to go as fast as I can. I have had discussions about this topic recently, actually, and even before with other TAW members, which is in regards to having a pause, right? Like a take it easy time on recruitment, which I personally do not believe on. You might have to a pace drop a little, but some form of recruitment must always continue, in my opinion, especially the main source you have. Like, let's say if your main source is Steam, or if your main source is mostly your recruitment post, those have to continue whatever growth you have or how many recruits you're seeing. But even if this is the case, you need to keep in mind the following points in mind. So the first thing is strengthen your leadership staff. If you need, you need a structure to sustain the growth, the amount of people that are going to be joining, etc. So you need to work on that. If you're going to be having this kind of growth, make it worse the new members to stay, which is basically retention. I think that we had that kind of unit before, so you can maybe check that kind of topics on our YouTube channel if it's still there, but you can check that. Control and handle drama, since now you have many recruits that are coming in, and due to that, there's going to be a lot of interaction between recruits, and some recruits can be a bit, not in a tall standard. So because of that, they're recruits, right? So they might not be a tall material, and you don't want those kind of recruits to be a reason for the members that you want to stay to leave because of them. So you need to have a very close eye and control drama, and you can check out the recent handling drama TAW U by Sidan. I think that's also on YouTube already. That's something that to look at. Good attention to the new members, because some of them are just doing a test drive, because obviously some people want to check it out, see a week or two, and then decide from there. So you want to ensure that to be successful, because you don't want to be like a big bucket with a big hole where you're recruiting a lot and you're losing a lot. We have actually kind of that kind of problem in AFT currently. We see a lot of recruits, but it's kind of hard to retain all of them. But we are trying, and you might come to that kind of circumstance, especially when you have lots of people coming in, because when you have lots of people coming in, that means you have various kind of people. So some just might not fit in, or maybe they didn't get the enough attention, or fault on their side or your side. Either way, it's going to be a bit hard to retain, but work on it, do your best. And most importantly, be involved and play with the recruits. They will feel welcomed. Try not to have recruits only playing with recruits and not just playing together. You will have that kind of circumstance, by the way, because all the PFCs or above already know each other, so they're going to feel more comfortable playing together, which leaves the recruits to playing with recruits only. And believe it or not, if they have a rule, let's say an example which you usually get, which is the swearing rule, something they're not happy about, right? The not swearing rule. I mean, uh, maybe they're not happy about it, and they kind of might start a discussion saying, "Hey, what do you think if we start our own thing without such kind of rule?" So you're gonna lose all those recruits, in just a matter of time. So you need to have your TAW members' wisdom to give the standard throughout the recruits, and even get them integrated into the team easily. So try to avoid recruitment to recruits only playing as much as you can, even though it's going to be a bit difficult. Find ways to do that. Uh, Another point is recruiting a lot at the same time could backfire in many ways, but the benefits are still higher, and you will gain a lot of great people for your team in this process. Even though if you lose a lot of people, because when I say lose a lot of people, I mean by the new recruits that are coming in, because of the reasons I mentioned above. So if you do it right, you should never need to take a pause, because that will just slow you down. It will not be a solution. So strengthen and keep doing it. Maybe have a little bit pace drop, but don't make a pause. That's completely wrong in my book. For you, it might be different. I respect that. Now let's talk about who should be recruiting. This should not even be a question, but we're going to be talking in details in regards to it. So, who should be recruiting? Is it only staff or members, or maybe even only TFOs? Well, it should be everyone. Everyone should be recruiting. If you're a staff, obviously that's one of your uh, tasks or duties that you take upon when taking the role. Any kind of role from bottom to top in the chain command. So everyone should be recruiting, or at least participating in some form of recruitment. That usually goes for the uh, maybe the staff that not have much time as they would want to put in, or the regular members who we don't want to ask too much from, because they're here to play and they're not signed up to recruit or anything like that. But we try to make them participate. We'll talk about that when we go forward. But again, it should all start from the staff members, starting from the TFO. I keep saying it. This is where the most important aspect of it is. You should also know by now that there are many ways to recruit new players, but this is also not a one-person task, since it takes a lot of time, energy, and it wouldn't be as effective as it is if it was a team-oriented or a teamwork recruitment. So really keep that in mind. Now let's talk about a very important topic here. I keep saying important, but I guess everything is important, or else I'm not saying it. Ways that a staff member can use to involve the regular members to recruit or partake in some act of recruitment. This is something that we really utilize on our recruitment post for EFT. If you checked the screenshot earlier, in there you have 34 pages of responses, and that's not a simple just me and one person typing in there, or something like that. In fact, recently I'm not even partaking on that as much. It's all the members and the staff in there. They're just talking in there. So what you can do is uh, you can ask uh, your members to make review. I basically mentioned it there, but for the regular members, you can make them or ask them to make a review comment about the community in your recruitment thread. Obviously, also something I passed on is you can ask them to invite their friends. They might have friends that they play with, and they might have told, "Oh, some people think that it's kind of closed, or we're not currently recruiting or something." So saying, "Hey, if you guys have friends that are playing, feel free to invite them." That's one way that your regular members could recruit. There might be also new people that will buy the game from their friends list, etc. So say that, mention it. It's always good to mention it. Asks them to initiate a conversation with you on the thread, or you can initiate a conversation with them, and they will take it from there. I'm talking about on the recruitment thread. You can't just go in there and say, "Hey, how was the game tonight?" or something. I mentioned their name or something, and ask them, "Hey, I was talking to you here. I'm kind of using it for recruitment." So you can use it for such a way. This way, you will engage in a conversation there, which keeps the trade on top. And you're not using any kind of bump or messages such as "we're still recruiting" or you know, "we're still looking for people," etc. I hate seeing that. It really annoys me because uh, it kind of makes you feel very desperate, and that you're just trying too much on the eyes of the viewer or the reader. But if it's merely a conversation, it will show different things like, oh, all those members talking to each other, it looks very friendly, more ideas there, everything that we mentioned above. And the best thing about this, which I actually touched a little, is you might even notice those members that you work with on this, that you initiated a conversation with them or you asked them to make a review. They'll pick up from there and they'll make it their own habit. And then next time they're the ones who are always there. So, it's going to become a thing, just like the clan tags. So that's where you should be aiming at. Yes, everything mentioned here is very simple and basic, but that's just what recruiting is. Like I mentioned when we started, and you also need to have the right mindset while you're doing it. So let's talk a bit about that. Nothing big or serious, nothing out of the basic, understanding, common sense thing, but you might just not think of it, or you might just have oversee it. Okay. So recruitment is very simple thing, but you also need to put the effort in, like I suggested before, and have the right mindset within your team. When I say this, there are a couple of things I want to note down and talk about. The first thing is you need to have a good place or a good importance given to recruitment and treat it as one very important aspect of your division. I think I can confidently say in Skip and Tarkov, many of our staff knows that we take recruitment seriously, and it's like a huge important matter for our team, and it's been like that from the start until now. And I think that's a very important thing. If you have like if you bring recruitment as something that you can do, when you need recruits or when you want to grow a little, some that kind of mindset, then it will always be like that, and you're gonna be always the same growth pace. I'm not saying not growing is bad or anything like that. I'm just saying if you're looking to grow, you got to have this kind of mindset created within the team. If you want to just be that, that numbered team, then it's fine. Again, it's about what your division needs, what your members need. So it's still fine. But since now we're talking about how to grow, how to recruit, then I think this mindset needs to be created. And again, the staff is where it starts. Understand that recruitment have to be a team effort, and that it needs to be included. That needs to include everyone starting from you. If a source of recruitment, the other topic, like the third one, right? If a source of recruitment gives you one member in a long time, it is still worth the effort, even if your source, other sources are uh, giving you 10 times that with less effort. Since now you have 11 members recruited instead of 10 without the other method that you would have dropped because you just got one out of it. I know it kind of sounds silly, but since you keep doing it at the time where it's not that popular or it's not that very effective, at some point when the other method might be not as effective, that one you already have the basic done there, so uh, it will pick up, or even just keep giving you that one member at a time. So just keep doing what you are possibly able to do, as many of them as possible, from the things that we discussed, and have that kind of mindset created. That one member from one place still matters. Have a passion for recruiting and have a great time while doing it, because that is what it's all about. When you're recruiting, it's not don't treat it as some kind of huge task or duty. Just treat it as something that that you're going to enjoy. Have fun, and that your team in general will be able to what is it called, have a good profit from, so to speak, if I chose the word correctly. Okay, so last but not least, I would like to give my gratitude to uh, Carl. EDU CEO and TAW EDU for the guidance help in making this happen, and everyone else who gives their suggestions on this preparation. And all of you who attended and patiently listened to this presentation. I hope my English was clear and the pace was fine, even though we kind of took a bit of time. I personally and Edu would like to hear your feedback, so please use the link. Now we'll have a discussion and question session where we can discuss about some of your ideas, and I'll also take any questions to answer for you in regards to recruitment. I'll be happy to stay here all night if you want it, and answer your questions. I would love to argue if you want to as well. It's fine. I would love to hear your thoughts and etc. But if you have to go now and still have questions for me, or you cannot think of any at the moment, feel free to contact me by any of the contacts listed or on TAW TeamSpeak here.